Afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. This is the session with Angel Salazar, so the compact data science. I think it's going to be quite an introductory session, quite light, which I think, but hopefully everyone sort of all levels will get something out of it. And I'll direct you to Angel's book as well, his book series coming out. The first book is Compact Data Science, or is that the name of the series? And it's Limitless is the series, I think. But I'll hand over to Angel. He can explain what he wants to achieve with the session and just talk a little bit around the topic before I guess I'll watch the lobby and wait for the sort of last minute people to join. But yeah, hand over to you, Angel, if you want to just give a brief introduction.
Thanks, Billy. First, thank you for the invitation to present and launch basically the book on compact data science for absolute beginners. My intention is for this to motivate and inspire people who will have normally been a bit apprehensive from getting into the maths and the coding of data science. So this first book is aimed to not necessarily technical people with technical background. It can be for aspiring data scientists, but it's to help develop the intuition, how data can be used to harness insights, to develop insights to harness opportunities in business and in general. I want to share some slides, so I will be using slides to structure my presentation. Anyone who has questions, please, if you could share those on the chat, if that's available. So I want to start sharing that presentation. So I'm Angel Salazar. I have been supporting companies and startups upskilling in data science and also innovating new products around data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. I used to teach and research business schools in the UK. I have a background in engineering, biomedical, signal processing, AI, and software engineering as well. And worked many years in a business school, teaching people from both worlds, business and technology. So I'm going to provide a quick overview of the workflow as is set up in the first volume of the series. And the general workflow starts collecting data, processing data, like a chef will do, collecting ingredients for a dish, a nutritious dish, collecting and cleaning and preparing the data before it's being analyzed. After the pre-processing, this could be customer data, historical data, purchases. It could be patient data about previous diagnosis or vaccinations, demographics. It could be related to financial transactions. It could be any other area you work as well. So you collect the data from databases, from spreadsheets, from surveys, questionnaires, using APIs, automating the streaming of data, for example, which is very common nowadays with the cloud platforms and real-time infrastructures to collect data that business uses. After this, we start exploring the data, how this data could be useful or not to our problem at hand. Maybe we are looking at how to retain and grow customers and provide recommendations for new products. How we start exploring the data to understand the customers' preferences, interests, and purchase habits. It could be related to patients with previous diseases or conditions, and trying to understand the morbidity factors, different factors that might affect their health. It also could be someone buying a house you have real estate agent trying to understand the different areas in one city and the factors that might shape the demand and the price of property, for example. So you will use visualization techniques to understand that. And we're going to explore on the exploration, visualization, and the processing of this with one example. And then you have the tools, the actual modeling tools, which is what we call algorithms. And they're different. There are a wide range of algorithms. These can be used to project the demand of a product and identify patterns or trajectories of potential sales of our business, our product in the specific market. It could be used to cluster customers depending on the volume of purchase, which brands they buy, how frequent they buy, for example. That's very common in marketing. So there's some models that assess the recency, frequency, and monetization of customers. And you could be analyzing using other tools also to analyze churn, retention, and other things as well. So the algorithms can be classified broadly on supervised and unsupervised, and also reinforcement learning algorithms, which I talk in the book. Today, I want to focus on one type of algorithm only, which is supervised learning, which is basically means that we already know the labels. We know the type of data we are collecting. So if we have sales, we know that the sales are for a specific product. We have maybe historical data about the product, but we know the label. We know what data we're talking about. There's no guessing about the label. So the next steps include evaluating the accuracy, precision, and other metrics that data scientists will use to make sure that the algorithms are giving not just accurate but plausible response that we can trust and we can rely. As you probably heard, with the new wave for generative AI, at this moment, there's a lot of discussion about how reliable are these new technologies. The models I'm talking today are which are called the traditional machine learning models, which are more clearly, more transparently understood, as in the case of decision trees or other models like that. So more transparent in the way we use those. This is not about generative AI, which is a new wave of AI at the moment. Now you will use evaluation to understand the accuracy. And as far as we know, there are big issues with all the type of models. In terms of supervised learning and forecasting and linear regression, which is the technical term for that, and other algorithms like decision trees, those are the ways to measure the accuracy and how much we can trust these models. And then the human in the loop, the person involved in the decision making, will exert his or her discretion if they can apply the decision to the problem they're trying to solve. And again, it comes to deployment, which is what we will see on an app or on a web browser, where we type a question or we have an Excel sheet that we enter and pass it to a system that will analyze the analysis we want to perform. And that's it in the deployment. That will require some knowledge about software engineering or web development to be able to place the code you produce in the first steps into production. And there are already a few platforms like Amazon Web Services, cloud computing, Microsoft, and there are other platforms that provide off-the-shelf tools across the whole 4 steps I mentioned before. to facilitate and speed up, accelerate the deployment of these models in production. Other aspects that also a data scientist, aspiring data scientist, needs to consider is how to communicate those findings, how to be able to relate both with fellow data scientists and with people on the business side, on the organization side of things, in operations, marketing, finance, human resources, etc. So you will be able to develop the skills which are necessary to convey those ideas in plain English, in simple terms, and in context to clear use cases that add value to the organization. And in terms of the ethics, the same way you take a picture of someone in public and you have to ask for a consent form, you have to consider the implication for privacy and security as any other information system that you might be involved in the development. And these are in at a glance, the process, the pre-processing, the exploration, the modeling with algorithms, evaluating this, we can trust this model and this accurate enough, or if this is we can change in the previous steps. Do we need more data or better data, quality data, or we need to combine different features and maybe discard some features that are not useful because they are not contributing to the output, to the outcome of the analysis. So all this pre-processing, exploration, and algorithm modeling evaluation go hand in hand together. It's not linear, as I showed it here. It's more iterative in reality. And the ethics and the communication have to be present in each stage. We need to be able to discern the intellectual property, copyrights, privacy when we're collecting data or sharing data and processing data. We need to be able to analyze in the modeling stage if we're introducing any bias in terms of are there any groups of people or features that are being underrepresented in the data. So these are things that we need to learn and be conscious as data scientists. If you combine all these, you have a successful implementation, successful project, a successful impact through your business. So this is a quick overview. Obviously, you will have to read a book. It could be Compact Data Science that might help you get into the details of these aspects. The book is quite concise and it's written in a very friendly way using analogies and examples. And I want to use one example I use in the book now. Please humor me with this. Have you heard about the Eurovision Song Contest? You probably have. The last one was in Liverpool. I live very near Liverpool, just less than an hour away. It was in May. Next year is going to be in Sweden. So we're going to use this as our use case today. So let's imagine that Lauren, not necessarily the winner of 2023 in Liverpool, which was a Swedish singer, but let's assume Lauren wants to buy a summer apartment in Europe. She's mad about Eurovision, obviously, and she wants to buy an apartment in one of the cities that have hosted the show previously. So that's our task. So what would be the data we need to collect? How we can visualize the patterns? What methods or techniques can we use to analyze, support our decision to buy an apartment in a city or another city? So these are the things we're going to be doing now. So let's think a little bit about this. What is the data you will look here? Billy, by the way, because I'm on presenting mode, I cannot see the chat. So I'm going to stop for 1 second here in case there is any messages there. No.
I'll manage the chat,
Okay.
so I'll let you know if anyone puts anything in.
Thanks for that. Sorry about that. So I'll continue here now. So this is our tasks. So how you have time to think? We're going to think what will the data we need. So I created a data set for the book based on this, my own data set, looking at data available online. And before that, I want to tell you a few interesting facts and statistics. Thanks to Reva Nimi, who provided that information. She's also a big fan of Eurovision, as we are. So maybe you didn't know that maximum 6 people are allowed on a stage during a performance. No live instruments are allowed to be played on stage, and every song must be under 3 minutes long. I didn't know that before Raven sent that to me. Lauren and Johnny Logan are the only entries who have won the contest more than once. Another interesting fact. And it has only been cancelled once since it started due to COVID in 2020. The UK has won 5 times and hosted it 9 times. And as I mentioned before, Liverpool was the most recent host. So those are very interesting facts about the Eurovision. I think we will probably have watched this at least once. But is that actually useful data to help us deciding where Lauren should buy her apartment? Is that useful data? So if we go back to this, our task is to help her decide on where to buy an apartment. Obviously, she's smart Eurovision, but these facts might not be necessarily the relevant ones she needs. Probably she wants to understand features of the cities. So obviously on the right-hand side, the price of the square meter build of apartments, maybe green spaces, the percentage of green space in the city, cities with more parks, forests than others, and woods. The cities that were hosted Eurovision were those are on the left from 2013 to 2023, from Malmo to the last one in Liverpool in Europe. There's some interesting facts about when it was founded. That might be interesting. Which country, the population, the area of the city, the density, not necessarily because it's larger might have or less density. This is something that needs to be analyzed as well. And the temperature on the weather. What's the weather? Is it pleasant for a summer apartment, for example? How much it rains? What's the humidity? How much sun do you get? So these might be some of the things you will consider or not. You might have a different criteria depending on what you are looking for. Also, the number of restaurants, for example. Maybe you want a busy city with, bursting with events and entertainment. If you're an artist like Lauren, but if you want something to relax or move away from the noise from where you normally live, you might be looking for something less crowded. You will see that there's some missing spaces, and that's on purpose. If we go back to the chef bird, you can see the hat. We will have to complete the data. If we want to take into consideration green spaces and restaurants as well, we will have to, and humidity, there's also some missing data. And we also have a founding missing data founded for Lisbon, 2018. The reason being, people cannot agree when Lisbon was founded. So let's say we need those. The things we will have to do is first make sure that we have all the relevant data, import the data to our data set or spreadsheet or data frame if you're using some programming language like Python. Also, make sure that you are standardizing the data in terms of the units. Maybe you are measuring area in square kilometers, sorry. But maybe you want to, you collect some data in square miles. So which units are you going to be using? You need to standardize to square kilometers or square miles. Again, temperature, are you measuring Celsius? I mean, we normally use Celsius in Europe, but maybe you want to use Fahrenheit. So you have to make sure that the data you present is standardized in terms of the metrics, the scales, and there is no missing data, as in this case, and make some decisions. Either there are some methods that I explained in the book that it could include imputation, and imputation basically means, in terms of numerical data, adding the mean or the median, which is basically the average of the column. In humidity, you could calculate the average humidity and enter that. But that could also have other implications for your analysis, which you will have to take into consideration. But these are the basic steps you have. Make sure that your data is being gathered and cleaned, preprocessed, and transformed in the right format and scales. So once we have the data and we agree, or in principle agree, that these are the features or factors that we are going to use in our analysis, we could start exploring how these are related to each other, perhaps, for influencing our decision to buy an apartment in one city or the other. So simple. Remember, this is for the absolute beginners who might not be familiar with visualization tools. Hopefully, we are all familiar with Excel and charts. So you probably have seen histograms or bar charts, which bar charts can also be called histograms on the left. And we can see that the density for Tel Aviv is the highest, and the lowest is for Kiev. Maybe you want to have a different way of presenting this. Could be using bubble diagrams on the right. And you can see that although the population and the area, although the population is lower in Tel Aviv, is highly dense because it has less area. So these are the things that you might want to analyze. So there are different ways, there are different diagrams that will give you different insights. So there is bar charts, as in the case on the left, where the scale, the height of the bar chart shows, in this case, inhabitants per square kilometer for the different cities. And in the right-hand side diagram, the bubble diagram, the diameter of the size of the bubble gives you the density, while the x-axis, the horizontal axis, x, and the vertical axis, y, shows you the population and the area respectively. And population, in this case, the number of inhabitants. So this could be that Lauren wants to be in a more crowded city with more restaurants, perhaps. What about temperature? So something else you could analyze or explore could be which city has the most pleasant weather. This is what is called, you probably have seen this in weather reports before, without noticing, but the intensity of the color or the warmth of the color gives you the intensity of the value. So in this case, if we are looking at the sun column on the right, Tel Aviv is the warmest city. On the right column is the city that provides you the most sunlight on average per day. Yeah, almost 11 hours per day of sunlight, in comparison with Liverpool, that gives you 6.5 hours of light. This is for the summer, by the way. Similarly, you can see that in temperature, the coolest city will be Copenhagen with 12.5, and the from the cool blue is a cool color, red is a warm color. In this case, rain. In this case, we green. I chose the color, by the way. You can choose any color you want when you using these tools. Gives you that Turing tends to rain a lot. I didn't know that before looking at this. I would have thought that it actually rained less than in Liverpool. Liverpool being in the north of the UK, and known for having a lot of rain. According to these statistics, Turin rains even more than in Liverpool. So that's interesting for me in particular. And again, the humidity. If you want to have less humidity, you might want to look for a city like Kiev, which is dry in comparison with other cities. It might be not as warm as Tel Aviv or Lisbon, but is drier. So these are the things that we probably would like to consider. Again, this is a fictional or semi-fictional case. This is not what we normally will do. I have deliberately used these semi-fictional cases to explain this in the book, to make it relatable to a wider audience. So what about actually looking to a real problem? So what features you consider in a real scenario? So the features you normally be looking at is obviously the price of property. These are prices for the UK, by the way. We tend to call houses as detached or semi-detached apartments. I have added myself a different categorization with I call a luxury apartment, because there were some data in the one I found that it was not the traditional normal apartment, because of the price. So you can see the number of bedrooms. Maybe you are single or a young family, or you're a couple, or you have older children, and you have different needs for bedrooms. You might need more space or less space depending what you do. Maybe you need a space for us to have a study room or a library or a gym. My son is a bodybuilder champion, and he has his own gym in the house, for example, in one of the rooms. And my wife also does a bit of fitness activity. So you might need more or less areas to do what you like. And the house types are different. If you don't have any, you prefer to have a detached, and if you're in a position to afford those, you might prefer a detached rather than a semi-detached for, I don't know, more privacy perhaps. Or you prefer to be in a close to amenities. On the right-hand side, we can see the distance to amenities. So if having the supermarket or a school or the market or the train station close to you, you might go for row 5, which is very close to amenities, or row 2. By row, I mean the horizontal lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, this is only a very concrete example, because you normally we have hundreds, if not thousands of rows of data. In this case, it's to illustrate the concept and develop the intuition if you are beginning with data science. So these could be the features that we start analyzing. So how we go about understanding the logic? The main objective of compact data science is to help people develop the intuition rather than learning and memorizing step-by-step instruction. There are so many books on that. My intention is to help people develop the intuition. With a new technology out there on generative AI, some companies are starting to say that we could all be coders. And I partially agree with that. I think we could all be coders. We don't have to learn the syntax for Python or JavaScript or Java or other languages. And that can be learned, but not necessarily everyone has to learn the syntax with this new technology, because it's going to be right in the code. But we still need to develop the logic. We need to be able to think logically and systematically, and in terms of structured thinking. And this is the spirit of this series, is to help people understand the underlying logic, to break problems in smaller parts and apply the right methods or techniques to analyze those problems based on data. There's one very useful technique. I mentioned supervised learning, that you know the labels. We know the labels. We have the labels for house types, detached apartment, semi-detached, luxury apartment. We have the labels for neighborhood type, suburbs, or rural, or city center. So we know the labels, and with that, we can apply supervised learning techniques. And one of those is something called decision trees. Think about the decision trees like a tree with a trunk, branches, and leaves. In this case, we can see that from the data, the small data set we have, we can separate the data by the number of bedrooms. Maybe which ones of those, if we go back to the data, we can see that some of the apartments are 139 square meters. The largest one is 232 square meters. There's some 163 and 186 and 189. So this could be one feature we use to start compartmentalizing and helping us with our decisions. So the next one is, sorry, I need to correct myself. The first one will be the number of bedrooms, which we have 3, 4, 2, and 5. Maybe you already made your mind on the specific size of the bedrooms. The next one will be which one has more bedrooms and which one has less amount of bedroom. My apologies. I have a bit of an hallucination there, similar to ChatGPT, which we're starting with bedrooms. So after the number of bedrooms, we could have chosen a different one, but in this case, we choose the number of bedrooms. We start looking at the type of houses. So maybe I need 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, but I'm set on a specific type of construction that I have a preference for. Maybe I'm looking for an apartment or a luxury apartment. So that would be the next one. If you're looking for an apartment, if it's an apartment which is not luxurious, we have less than 3 bedrooms in this case, according to this data. It could be different if you are using a different data set or different sources of data. And on the right, a luxury apartment probably will have more than 3 because you're paying for the space, more area, and more facilities. So in terms of the next leaf, so far we have number of bedrooms and type of construction. On the left, things start to change to size. So the size will be the next decision factor if you're looking at those cases. Cases being the rows. On the right branch, on the higher than 3, we have the neighborhoods in terms of how far or close you are to the amenities. Remember, neighborhood here means how far you are from the, but how far you are, what type of, sorry, it's not the distance, it's how far you are from the neighborhood type. If it's you prefer to live in the city center, close to amenities and close to your office, or you prefer to be more rural, semi-rural, or you prefer to be in a suburb. I live in what we consider a suburb, for example, near Manchester. So this is the intuition I wanted to explain. You will normally do this with a tool. You could use any tool. Excel has these facilities. Python libraries have these modules. You can have open source code which is available online to ingest data, clean the data in data frames, avoid delete duplications, duplicated code. Duplicated values on a row. And that's what a data analyst will do. A business analyst will look at the data. If you're also into the data science, you will choose the right method to analyze the data and visualize the data as well. You might even extend some algorithms. And if you're a machine learning engineer, you might be able to extend or develop particular bespoke algorithms for a particular need you have. And not only for tabular data, as in this case, tabular means tabs or columns, but it could be text data with natural language processing, or it could be computer vision with images and videos, which we started to see that happening everywhere now. So this is the type of logic you will be reading and learning in compat data science. Obviously, the samples are there written and edited and reviewed. You should be able to develop the intuition to start seeing different problems through the lens of these techniques, and they should start then becoming second nature when you're analyzing different problems. So all the real world problems, deciding buying a house, could be churn prediction, as I mentioned before. You could use decision trees to identify customers that have risk to churn. Maybe the frequency is very low. Maybe the volume is being low as well. Or maybe the volume is high but it's low frequency. So you start dividing those by frequency, volume, monetization, value, and maybe you can add other demographics. You could add demographic information in terms of the typical demographic information, gender, age, profession, maybe suburb or postcode they live, and also the previous engagement with the products through reviews and other data. So you could analyze each one of these features or factors I mentioned could be one of the columns in your data, or it could be also one of the decision factors in the decision tree where you branch out. And some of those might have more weight, more importance than others. In real world, you will be using this to assess the importance of these factors for certain demographic or segments of customers to purchase or not, or to churn or not. And this is the power of these techniques. You also could use it for credit risk assessment. You can analyze factors such as income, credit history, outstanding debts, and all these factors could be branches. It would be the leaves of each branch that is being separating the data set you have. You could be a bank, or it could be a lender with millions of customers, and you could use this to easily identify the most probable bubble people are likely to default on loans based on historical factor of people with similar history, for example. Also quality control. Decision trees could be pinpoint factors for quality, different features on the production assembly process that you might be monitoring. So with this, I will have completed the presentation. Again, all this is covering in the book. It's a concise, compact book, less than 70 pages. I give examples I mentioned. There are other examples for on clustering, the techniques I mentioned about unsupervised learning, which without labels, clustering. These examples about that. Some short examples on reinforcement learning, which is based on how robots logic works in terms of having feedback loops and there's some examples there on real applications as well. Not in depth, but to give you an overview of the possibilities and potential value of these techniques in business and other areas, other sectors. Also, I go through the skills you need to develop for effective communication, and also the ethical considerations in data science you need to have. With that, I finish the presentation. If you decide to read the book, it's available at a very accessible price in tinyurl.com, Compact Data Science UK, for people listening from the UK, and tinyurl.com, Compact Data Science USA, for people listening from the US or somewhere else. So thank you.
Who do you recommend the book for? What people do you think it's best for?
Thank you. That's a good question. I think it will be for no intermediate or even obviously no advanced data scientists, but it could be small business owners that wants to apply these techniques to analyze churn, analyze customer segmentation, analyze their other small companies or medium-sized companies that want to analyze the potential of bad debts or bad fraud, for example. A small company, factory, manufacturing companies, managers that not necessarily are been using this at this time, and they want to get an appreciation of this. And my intention is that this book will help them understand the principles. There's only one formula, which I didn't show. There's only one formula in the whole book for the absolute beginner. There will be formulas and there will be more advanced cases in the other series, and there will be some coding. And we are working, trying to make this as easy as possible to reduce the barriers for learning for people.
Sure. You think it works as a supplement to people in maybe data analyst roles or people in BI positions who are looking to expand their knowledge in data science, step into that world?
I think people working as a data analyst will be an ideal persona benefit from the book. The data analysts already know about data pre-processing and cleaning, and that's what they will have to do. And visualization, the tools like Power BI or Tableau or other tools allow you to do that. If you are a data analyst, you could dwell on these data science methods I describe, decision trees, clustering, and it gives you the logic, it gives you the underlying principle without going into obscure formulas that you normally will find in other books.
Sure. And you think do the book series, are you going to get into more complex topics later down the line, or where do you see the vision for the series?
For this series, it's going to be on developing the intuition. There's already enough books on aimed to programmers, to be honest.
Yeah.
Others. This is aimed for people who might not be necessarily a strong coder, but should be able to perform their own analysis on their own or with a team, understanding the underlying logic, the intuition. The other series we're working with other people, and we are working on Limitless, which is another series looking at generative AI, and we're doing analyzing using generative AI to analyze from how to become a chess grandmaster to develop the next generation of algorithms to detect cancer tumors. So in terms of the spectrum, there are different series that I'm working on that have different intents. For the compact, it's going to be a short burst of knowledge that's going to help people get motivated, inspired, and hopefully something click in their brain. For example, my wife is very good at Excel, and she's a school teacher, but she's very good at Excel, and she does all the calculations in the school. But not everyone might be good at Excel. Might have the brain might freeze the moment they see a data set or a formula, and it's something maybe we acquired when we were in the school because for some reason we didn't learn that. So the idea is to unfreeze people, and I really believe if you don't start understanding these new technologies, it's going to be a big disadvantage for people. More and more, we can see that. We have seen the news about ChatGPT, Google with Bard, Microsoft with Bing, with ChatGPT. AI is going to be ubiquitous more than ever. So if you don't have understanding on how to apply data in a structured way and develop the logic, some people are going to be at a huge disadvantage. And this is the intention. This is the intention of this particular series, to help people who traditionally have been looking at data science to understand the basics. If not them, they can start interacting with people developing the code. But now you are on an equal footing when they start flagging these concepts.
About the principles and I guess like figuring out what you need to do and to achieve the goal you've set out to do then, because you know, I deal with data roles, I get data science positions, and there are listed tools that they're looking for, but it's not necessarily about how many tools you know as a scientist. It's about applying them correctly and understanding the principles of everything to start with it, I guess.
From experience, being an engineer, engineers tend to apply what they know best. So if you start from the pushing the technology, you will be pushing your method to the problem. And when you have to pull the technology to the problem you have at hand, and the people, the owners of the problem, or the owners of the opportunity or challenge, are the ones who need to drive the innovation and the change. People need to understand the potential of the technology to be able to liaise with the engineers, but they need to at the moment we have the cart in front of the horse. We need the general public, leaders, business professionals, small business owners, teachers, non-profit people working in non-profit organizations, understanding this, and that's the spirit of the series.
A lot of businesses rush into data science, don't they, before they've got the data mature enough. So I guess that's that cart before horse thing you mentioned.
That's true.
It's obviously all the rage at the moment. Everyone wants to apply it, but it's it's important to do the steps ahead of that, I guess.
Yeah, correct. Definitely, 100% agree, Billy. If you don't have access to data, or if data is not being managed systematically, this is when you need to start. You know, collecting all the data, the Excel sheets, the reports. That could be labor intensive, which is a good thing. It could be labor intensive in terms of having people who understand the processes and the goals of the function of the department, and involved with people collecting, curating, cleaning the data, and processing the data. And obviously, this cannot be done overnight, but it's a process. It's a process of learning together and reacting to the opportunities, increasing competition, needs to reduce cost, to differentiate yourself from the competitors, to find new partners, new channels, and analyzing data and opportunities all the time. So it's a process. The data is a very important part of the process.
So, has anyone else got any questions at all for Angel? I know there's some aspiring data scientists, I think, in the call. So, any questions about the contents of the book, or anything that you think is worth asking? Please, now's the time. No. Okay, no worries about you. If you do you want to plug anything, Angel, or do you want to maybe discuss anything about Soteria? Point people to that.
Sure. I lead a group of data science volunteers. Some of them are different stages of their careers. We have undergraduate data scientists. We have masters. We have people doing PhD, senior people working in industry, working in open source. We share the code with anyone in health, particularly mental health, analyzing depression, analyzing anxiety, using data science tools, collecting the data, cleaning the data, making sure that the data is in the right format and complete, and the analysis can be trusted. And our volunteers learn hone the skills as a data scientist in these open source projects. We are moving into a real world challenge approach, where anyone have a particular need in health or anything that has social impact can contact us. I'm available, obviously, in LinkedIn, can contact us to do very specific projects, innovation projects that we develop at no cost. The open source code. The only requirement is that they need to have data, the consent of the data, authorization to use that data. Obviously, we have to be made anonymous and ensure data privacy and security. We will also need agree that it's open source. It has to be shared with openly, and it has to be some educational value for our volunteers. We are working with a few people through also through the limited series on how generative AI can be used in different sectors. We are looking at, as I mentioned, learning a craft like chess, or applying to developing new products like the next generation of cancer tumor detection, to working with experts, professors at universities, foreseeing global risks, scenario planning with experts. So it's a cost range of things. Wherever you are in terms of starting or intermediate or advanced, please get in contact. We can collaborate together.
You're still looking for volunteers then at the moment?
We're always looking for volunteers. I was interviewing one last night, and I will be interviewing one next week again. And we're also working with, I don't want to mention names, but we're working with a few universities in the UK, Canada, the US. Also, all the social impact innovators are doing also their own projects, and we share resources. So anyone wants to get into this, that will be I'm pretty good take a mentoring role there, having been a lecturer for many years. We share tutorials, resources. You can find me in LinkedIn, where I share free resources as well. If you're an intermediate or advanced technical leader, you will find snapshots of different technologies for machine learning, natural language processing, generative AI, which I share there, free access. So depending where you are, we are always looking for volunteers. What we ask is to let us know exactly your level of commitment and time. But so far, it's been a learning experience for most of our volunteers who are trained. We also have partners who are developing technology that are training and certifying some of our volunteers at no cost. And this normally costs you some money, to be honest, if you do it on your own. So this is at the end of the day, we want to build a open innovation community that people can share ideas. I think this is going to continue with generative AI, open source large language models. I think it's one approach that people want to take as well, because we need to be able to understand what's inside these AIs.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, and I recommend everyone connect with Angel, because you share some interesting things almost daily. So definitely recommend everyone does that. We'll direct everyone to the book again. So is it just at Amazon and Kindle that you can get it at the moment?
At the moment, it's Amazon and Kindle digital. We are planning to have print versions in the future. We do everything in-house ourselves. We're also planning to translate to other languages, starting with Spanish. And again, it's available in Europe, Asia, and also US and Canada.
Perfect. So yeah, unless anyone else has got any questions, I think we'll wrap up. But yeah, you can get me on Billy Thompson on LinkedIn, Angel Salazar on LinkedIn. Any questions, or if anyone wants a recording after the fact, you can message me or get it on our events page, because it's going to be available there as well to rewatch for anyone who's missed the start, etc. So yeah, you can do that. Excellent. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.